Hey everybody, Joe from Carbon Records. My teeth need attention, all that stuff. Numbers. This is my radio show at our local low-powered FM station, WAYO WAYOLP Rochester, wayofm.org. There you go. Yeah, I just wanted to do a quick thing. In my last video, I talked about an interview I did with the guys, the surviving members of Peter Porteous and Jon Chapman. Um, what's going to follow this is going to be the interview I did with them, along with Andrew Scott, who helped me write some promotional materials for the record, and then what he gave me for the PR sheet was actually too big and kind of led into me doing a zine that came with the two records. So there's two records that I put out at the end of last year, along with Grapefruit Records out in Omaha. So yeah, there was a zine that came with it and has Andrew. So Andrew joined this interview with me. This originally aired on the podcast, My Teeth Need Attention, audio wise. But I had the video of the Zoom call, and I figured it might be cool to post that for those who don't do podcasts, or maybe you didn't listen to that yet or anything like that. You could check it out. But I got something in the mail just now, literally like 2 minutes ago, and it's a cool package because it's like all formats. I got an LP, and this related. So I started realizing there was a few things I never got before, and I was able to find a buyer on Discogs that had a couple of them. So I'm trying to fill those holes. And they talk about this in the interview, John and Peter. This is the split LP with Nova Scotia, another New Zealand band. I don't know what label this is in. I can't tell what label it's on. All the labels are blank and stuff. Let's check it out. Where'd it go? Is there an insert? There's an insert. Yeah, blank labels, just black and white. Actually, kind of cool. And the insert, yeah, it's on Tipped Bowler Tapes. Came out in 2011. It's the insert for it. And then what else did I get? I got a CD, maybe CDR. Black Ice, kind of cool, sort of related to that Pin Group 7-inch, right? Black on black printing. This was when Ryan Cockburn was in the band, and this came out probably mid 2000s. It was recorded in 2004 to 2005 on the Vintage Fairy Moons maybe label. Yeah, I haven't checked out any of this stuff yet. And then, along with that, so along with the various formats, so we got LP, CD, 7-inch. I finally tracked down the KG Hino 7-inch on Table of the Elements. So part of the solo guitar series that Table of the Elements did years ago. If you're not familiar with Table of the Elements, this label kind of is why I called Carbon. I had some other names for the label when I was starting in 94. Table of the Elements started right before that. I want to say 92. And all their catalog numbers are atomic elements. And the logo is like the atomic element from the periodic table, which I found fascinating. Always loved reading about science. I did computer science in school and did a lot of I really like reading about scientists and science stuff. So it was right in my wheelhouse, and the music was great. They turned me on to like Lauren Connors and God, a whole bunch of stuff. They put out early Gate records and things like that. Maybe not early, but a lot of avant-garde stuff out of Atlanta, I believe. And the label is kind of reactivated now. I don't know if they've released anything just yet, but they're teasing a lot about the archives, and they have a lot of stuff. They put out some great stuff that's like Velvet Underground, Lamont Young related over the years, and they've been teasing some of that out. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Table of the Elements. So yeah, this is Magnesium, the Magnesium release again, KG Hino 7-inch. I think I have a CD comp of the 7-inch series. But I've been trying to slowly track down to 7 inches. I don't know how many I have now, but I have a bunch. And then cassette. So I had all the formats, I guess, right? Is there any formats that I didn't hit? This is Burnt Hills. Burnt Hills cassette that I did not have. Burnt Hills is this great collective from Albany, New York. centered around Jackson from Flipped Out Records. He ran Flipped Out Records, which is a record store and a label. And Burnt Hills is this collective that they used to go in, I think, Jackson's basement every week, kind of religiously, and record and jam, almost like the Nihilist Spasm Band up in London, Ontario, who would do the same thing. You know, they got together every night. I think it was every Monday night or Sunday night or something like that. And then so they have tons of recordings. And Burnt Hills includes a couple good friends of mine, Ray Hare and Eric Hardiman, who also are Century Plants as a duo. And I've had the luck of playing with them a couple times over the last couple of years. I've known them for years, and we had a band together with our dearly departed friend Corey Card. That band was called Transcendental Manship Highway. We used to like meet and do shows along the thruway somewhere. We played Syracuse a bunch because it's like halfway. It's a little closer to us than Albany, but yeah. So that was kind of cool. Can't wait to jam that. This is really good. Heavy psych jam, basement jam stuff. Really good stuff. So anyway, yeah, so the I records are the, good intro to this video that's going to be an interview with Jon Chapman and Peter Porteous of I, talking about I and their late friend, Peter Stapleton, who, of course, was a huge force in the New Zealand scene. I talk about it in that last video, so if you haven't seen the last video, watch that. And then Andrew Scott joins me, and Andrew's in a band called Only Vernal Pools, with his partner Steph, and they live in town. They're really good, like awesome minimal drone kind of music. And he was also in Metal Rouge, which if you haven't tracked that stuff out, you should do that. Funny enough, Eric Hardiman of Burnt Hills and Century Plants posted a photo a couple years ago, of some records. I'm like, what is that record? He's like, Metal Rouge. And he was surprised I didn't know about them. And so that took me down the Metal Rouge rabbit hole. Got a couple LPs of their work, and then, funny enough, Andrew happens to move to town, and I meet him. So yeah, we've become close, and we hang out and talk music a lot and stuff like that. So, all right, so enjoy this, and I hope you're dealing with the fucking chaos around the world and in the U.S. Power to the people of Minneapolis and all the other cities around the states. And if you're not cool with that, then that's whatever with you. But Dom did a great post about Minneapolis, and then he went into music, and I know he talked about like losing subscribers and stuff and whatever. I mean, some people say music shouldn't be like, stick to music and it shouldn't be political, but fuck that. I mean, most music is political, whether you know it or not. Listen to Fela Kuti, listen to Dead Sea, listen to, any rap in the past, 50 years. All right, that's it. Hope you enjoy the episode, and hit like and subscribe down below, and tell your friends about this, and I'll try to keep doing some videos. Oh, and just so you know, this is going to be part one of the interview. The interview is pretty long, and I wanted to break it up because I think otherwise it'd be maybe too long for a lot of people to watch it in one spot. So this will be part one, and then part two will come probably in like a week, maybe less than a week. All right, enjoy. I want to welcome Peter and John to My Teeth Need Attention. I want to welcome Andrew, my co-host, guest slash whatever. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's hot over there right now.
Yeah, it's
Kind of getting
yeah. I
that.
mean, Dunedin fluctuates wildly. Friday was very hot. Then 2 days before that, it was very cold. We're just coming into summer now, but Dunedin being the bottom of New Zealand, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's hot.
My brain has to reverse everything for you
Mm.
guys. Yeah, because when we were on the listening party the other night, Anthony was sending me notes about this lathe cut he's doing. I'm like, hey, we're on a listening party right now, and he was like, yeah, it's really freaking hot right now. And at that point, it was about 10 degrees here, which, like, for you guys, that's negative 11 or 12 Celsius.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Which is
wow. Yeah.
it's brutal.
that's like normal for here, but it's early normal.
Yeah.
We usually don't get that, pre-Christmas, but we've been getting some decent snow lately too. But
I can't imagine. I've never been to Dunedin in summer. Every time I've been to Dunedin, it's been winter. So I have this image of Dunedin where it's just never not freezing and gray. Like I can't.
We
It just worked out that way. Yeah.
will probably 3 out of 4 summers here are freezing and gray. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is one of these lucky summers where we're getting hot weather. So
Yeah. Yesterday was 28 degrees
Mm,
Celsius, which is hot. Yeah.
yeah, that's like 86 or something.
oh wow, yeah,
mm.
freezing and gray is Rochester's like middle name.
Yeah.
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 Like we're near the John would probably know this, but we're near the Great Lakes, and we're like on the lake on Lake Ontario, and it just really messes with the weather here. So we get lake effect snow, like so a quote you won't even have a storm, but it'll just like start dumping snow on us because it's just pulling the moisture out of the lake and just dumping it on us with the cold air.
Yeah.
And then cloud cover, like that's what really affects everyone around here in the winter, is it's just gray for like 5 months.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to it.
You kind of become like, The Shining.
Yeah.
Jack Lawrence. That's kind of the
How long have you been there, Andrew?
in Rochester or
Yeah,
in the state in
in
Rochester.
Rochester.
Like three years, just a little over 3 years.
Yep. And
Uh,
what brought you there?
my partner Steph's family is from here, so
Okay.
we were in California and we were in Northern California and we got evacuated because of wildfires and floods, like 4 or 5 times in 4 years, and then the last one we got evacuated. We were out of our house for 2 weeks, and there were so many fires going simultaneously, like hundreds and hundreds of fires.
Oh,
They couldn't tell us whether our house had burned down or not. So we're like living in a car for 2 weeks, waiting to get back to our house. And we were also both working in environmental nonprofits, and we had some contact with fire ecologists, and we kind of realized like, oh, it's not an if, it's a when, you know. Um,
Mm.
so we're like, you know what
mm.
we'll do? We'll put everything in storage at Steph's parents' place, and we'll just walk the Appalachian Trail. And where we're going to go next is just going to come to us. And so we walked for 1,000 miles, and at the end of the 1,000 miles, we had no money left, and we were like, well, I guess we live in Rochester now. And
Yeah,
so that's kind of how we ended up here.
amazing.
Did you start down in Georgia,
We
like where it starts?
We started this was the second time we'd done it. So this time we
Oh,
started in Klingman's Dome, and we did the first 300 miles years ago. So we started where we finished last time, which
I
is
see.
Oh,
Klingman's.
cool.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But yeah, so it
Wow.
was a kind of a semi-act of God that
Yeah,
ended
sure.
up here. Yeah.
So I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains,
What?
and I've crossed the trail on a car, going, "Hey, there's a sign."
Yeah.
But
Does that count?
I've never even thought about. Yeah, Scranton's in the Appalachians, like the
Ah,
the mountain ranges, right there are called the Endless Mountains, but they're part of the Appalachian Trail or
Oh,
the Appalachian Range.
oh,
Yeah,
wow. I know that.
yeah. So I always get picked on for being in like Pennsylvania.
yeah.
Scranton's like Buffalo and Syracuse. It's like
Yeah.
beat up,
Uh,
kind of almost Midwest town, although it's not in the Midwest. But
Pennsylvania is a terrible word.
yeah.
It just sounds
Well,
horrible.
thing is, any state around here, like you go outside the city and you're in rural area, and they're all the same. So,
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought you made that name up as a joke. It's like,
no, it's like the
Oh,
Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and people make fun of Kentucky for being real rural, but it's like, I don't know, Louisville's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
squirrel
Yeah.
bait. Yeah.
exactly, there you go. You know where I'm going. I spent
Yeah.
I spent a couple nights. I did a long road trip, so it's kind of similar to his story, of trying to figure out where you want to live. My buddy Rob, years ago, graduated from Cornell. I went to college with his younger brother, so that's how I met him. So he finished Cornell Masters, and he's like, I want to go on a road trip to figure out where I want to live. And I'm like, all right, I'll join you. I'm not moving, but I'll join you for the road trip. And at some point, we ended up in Louisville multiple nights. I got really loaded. Rodan had just broken up, and I was just wandering the streets yelling, "Where's Rodan? Where's Rodan?" Um, everyone's like, "You're an idiot." So, John,
Except for that
John,
one
how
guy.
did you, John, how did you get to New Zealand? When did that happen? You're from
Uh,
New
uh,
York area or Mass?
well, I'm actually from Canandaigua.
Wait, what?
What?
Are you seriously? All
Yeah.
right, so for those people who don't know, Canandaigua is like 15, 20 minutes away from where we are right now in Rochester. It's at the
Yeah. So,
top of
I mean,
Canandaigua
I
Lake.
went to
Yeah.
school in Canandaigua, but I'm from Farmington, which is like
Uh-huh.
the sort of where you get on the thruway, basically. That's all anyone would know about Farmington. And then I went to school in Philly, and then like university in Philly, and then um, as soon as I finished school and had disposable income, I was like at the Philadelphia Record Exchange all the time buying experimental music. And Tony at the Record Exchange recommended the first handful or the Handful of Dust compilation.
Oh, I've
Um,
got my t-shirt on. That you probably can't
Oh,
see that.
look
Oh,
at that. Awesome.
that's
Purely
amazing.
coincidentally.
it was in this incredible packaging, if you remember those 90s,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the early ones before he did the kind of fold out covers when they were like a
Yeah,
manila
in the
envelope.
paper envelope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I
Musica
was,
Humana.
yeah, yep. And I
Yeah.
was just blown away by the packaging of it. So I took it home and listened to it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This was so outside of my ideas of stuff. And then so I went back and was like, do you have more of this kind of thing? So he gave me Trapdoor Fucking Exit, and that then opened my mind. And so I was at the organic shop in Philly, and I saw this guy wearing a Dead Sea t-shirt, and it was Chris from Double Leopards, and it was like, "Hey man, fucking Dead Sea, so cool to see somebody wearing a Dead Sea t-shirt. Should we have a jam sometime?" So we had a jam, became Double Leopards with Marcia, and then because Chris was working in the organics shop, he had heard about woofing, which Andrew, maybe you know about
Yeah,
woofing,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
real New
Workers on
Zealand
organic
thing.
farms. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you go stay on people's farms or in their lifestyle blocks, or their even if they just have a garden, and in exchange for working in their garden, they let you stay in their house and they feed you and introduce you to the culture. And he's like, "Oh, I heard that New Zealand does this thing called woofing. You can go to New Zealand and not spend any money just by working on people's farms." So I was like fully committed to the idea of moving to New Zealand as soon as I heard Handful of Dust and Dead Sea. So I was like, this is my end to get to New Zealand. And yeah, I spent 6 months here, tried to just stay, emigrate. I ended up as a prep cook in a cafe, and amazingly, the immigration department wasn't handing out work visas to people who were working as prep cooks in cafes.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
yeah, I know. Come on. So
Unbelievable.
yeah, so then I went to Aussie for 6 months, and that's a whole other adventure. And then in the meantime, Chris and Marcia had moved to New York. So when I got back to Philly, they're like, come to New York. So then we did a couple of years as Double Leopards in New York, and I fucking hated it. I hated living in New York. I lived above a live poultry shop
Oh
that just
man.
smelled like
Oh
death all the time. Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. And also had the BQE overpass right outside my window, so it was like stink
Yeah.
coming up from below and sound coming in through the windows, and we couldn't open the windows because it just let more stink in. So summer in New York with the windows closed and no air conditioning. So I'm like, I'm fucking going back to New Zealand. And luckily I was 28, and New Zealand gave out I think 1,400 working holiday visas a year to Americans who were under 30. But it was a lottery system. You just had to apply for it, and if you were lucky, you got it. And I got one, and so I came back to New Zealand and tried living in Auckland, but that was too hard. Also, a month after I got here, September 11th happened, so that kind of put me off the rails as far as having any idea what my future was going to be. So I just went, okay, I'm going to go back to Dunedin, and I know people down there from my last time, and I was lucky enough to have a friend who was willing to train me as a picture framing apprentice, and I became a picture framer.
What year was that?
So that's August 2001 is when I moved here. And then in sort of June 2002, he hired me. So it was pretty lucky, really.
Well, that's kind of similar when I came, because I was living in Auckland and playing music up there in the 90s and early 2000s. And a friend of mine, Marcel Beer, who played in Empirical, he'd been, so Peter Stapleton and Kim Peters organised the first Lines of Flight festival in 2000 in sort of October. And they asked Marcel to play, and Marcel said yes. And then he said to me, I don't want to play solo. Do you want to play with him? I said, well, of course, I'm going anyway. So we went down. It was fantastic. Playing in front of all my heroes, which was a bit scary, but seemed to go well. Then went back to Auckland. Then the following year, my partner and I, we'd been planning this big round the world trip for 6 months, which included a month in New York, actually, staying with friends of friends. And on that trip, we kind of had a long talk about what we wanted to do. And then we thought, well, maybe we'll go and move to Dunedin and see what it's like to live there. You know, if we don't like it, we can always leave. So we coincided coming down there for the next Lines of Flight, which was 2002. They're generally 2 years apart. So, yeah, we sort of packed up the car, drove down the length of the country and arrived. And so that was just soon after you were there. Yeah. Because we didn't really meet for a few years after
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Yeah. So then as a good segue into at the end of that Lines of Flight festival, Kim and Peter, who'd been longtime partners, announced to everybody that they were splitting up, which was a big shock to everybody. So that also meant that Peter didn't have any bands to play in. Well, he played in the Terminals, but most of them were in Christchurch, but him and Brian Crook were in Dunedin.
And Joe, that's 5 hours drive away, so
Okay. Yeah.
it's not an easy trip. Yeah.
I was gonna ask that. I was staring at the map actually last night, almost prepping for this, trying to figure out where the hell everything is. Especially like Littleton and Christchurch and Dunedin. So Littleton's like what, a suburb of Christchurch, from what I could tell.
Kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. It's through the tunnel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's essentially part of Christchurch.
But a completely different world. You know, Christchurch is this huge flat expanse of sprawl, and then Littleton is a gorgeous hillside
Oh, okay.
community overlooking an incredible harbor. So
Yeah.
With lots of musicians and artists. It's a bit like in Dunedin, Port Chalmers, which is where I live, which is along the harbour from Dunedin. I mean, when we decided to move out to Port Chalmers, we'd been in Dunedin for sort of 6 or 7 years. Some people were saying, what do you want to live all the way out there for? It's 10 minutes drive from the middle of town. So it's not too bad. But then, so yeah, getting back to that story. So Peter, because he was playing in rain and sleep and I guess occasionally other improvised acts. And I don't even know why I said it. I said to Kim, I would love to play some music with Peter. I don't even know how brave enough I was to say that at the time. And then, anyway, Kim being Kim, a couple of days later said, I've talked to Kim and you're having a practice next week. I went, oh, okay. So I turned up at their place. They lived near Purakanui. And we had sort of 2 or 3 practices, just guitar and drums. We didn't have any preconception of what it was going to be like, but it turned out to be pretty loud and fast and heavy. Then he said, I'll get Nathan Thompson to perhaps come and sit in because he was playing in different bands with Nathan. So Nathan joined on guitar as well. And that's really how I started. So we were sort of played for about 6 months practicing and then started playing live.
So 2 guitars and drums, basically at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think he was doing laptop at the start. So we'd kind of tune our guitars together, point the speakers, amps at each other, and play all the feedback and get all the overtones.
Was that it was Nathan at that point playing that, the guitar with the broken neck? You know how he would do that thing where he had the guitar where the neck was kind of cracked or whatever, and he would bend it over his knee. Was he doing that thing? He used to.
Yes, I remember he used to have big hunks of metal which he would use to shove in it and make sound out of. But yeah, I think he had a couple of guitars, one of which was worse for wear.
Right. I think that Nathan Thompson is it's solo too, expansion based stuff and the stuff under his own name. I think he is just hellishly underrated musician in general. I think he's he's fantastic, and
all his work with Sandals Lab technicians there.
Yeah, renderizes. I mean, he's just consistently great, and his solo work just is not as well known as it should be, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I did see you at that Lines of Flight with Empirical, the first Lines of Flight. And I was that so was that the first time you'd played with Marcel as Empirical? Because I'd seen Empirical a whole bunch of times. I'd never seen you together. So that was the first time. That's so Marcel to say, yeah, I'll do it, but somebody else has to do it with me. I feel like the only way you can get that guy to play shows is by kind of cajoling him somehow by that was a fantastic set, and I think that was the first time I'd ever it wasn't the first time. I was going to ask you about this. I saw so before you moved to Dunedin, you were in Lapdog.
Yes, yeah.
Was that the only project that you're in Auckland?
Pointsman was another thing, but we only played live once at a house party.
All right.
Me and Gonzo Schmidt, who ran Crawl Space Records, which was an amazing record shop, and this other friend of mine, Mark Chong, who's a very unique person, very conservative and very extreme. To give you an idea, at that time he was working as a property valuer, and he'd walk to work wearing a suit and tie, and in his backpack would be a blown up balloon, and he would practice balloon at work because he played balloon in the band. Like a very abrasive noise thing.
Gonzo definitely, Gonzo through his patience and guidance definitely was a huge force in my life. Definitely life-changing guy for me. I owe him a huge debt of thanks. But one thing that he told me about Pointsman, he said, I'm in this band, there's a balloon player in it. And I had found some review in Opprobrium of a 7-inch where somebody played balloons. And I was like, oh, there's this other band with a balloon player. And Gonzo said, oh my God, whatever you do, don't say anything. If he finds out there's another balloon player, he's just going to pull the plug on the band. Like, don't say anything.
I think Eugene Chadbourne played balloon at one time, along with his rake and other objects.
That's funny you mentioned that. I was just at a local shop, the Bop Shop. It's a big, kind of jazz record store. And I was talking to the owner, and he bought a couple records from me, one of each, because it's not his style at all, right? But he likes supporting me. And I'm like, you won't like it. But he's like, yeah, I can hang with some of the stuff. I saw somebody play a balloon once, and he's like, and Eugene Chadbourne was there and said, no, that's just too much. Just yesterday, he was telling me the story. Two things. Wow. Crawl Space was a store. Was that the label too that did the lathe cuts and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they did stuff on Drunken Fish, some compilations of their artist labels, their lathe cuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a whole
I have a
wonderful
double LP, I
song.
think, of that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, I think that might have a live empirical track that we did at Lines of Flight on it.
Oh, that's what that's from, and
Yeah.
it's credited as empirical and electricity,
Yes,
right?
yeah, because I
Yeah.
used that name solo at the time, even though actually I don't even know if I played solo, but I released something anyway
At 10
under that
inch,
name.
did you do a 10 inch?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
like a bluey cover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As what, electricity?
yes,
Okay, so
yeah.
I gotta ask this. So I was driving around today listening to Sleep and Rain in the car. What's up with you guys using the simplest one word names for
Yes,
bands? Right?
except
Like, I don't know. Nowadays, I have a friend who's like starting his umpteenth, hardcore band. And he's like, oh, we need another name for the band. And he's coming up with all these idiotic names. And of course, nowadays you go on Discogs and you have to make sure no one else has the name. But like
yeah.
sleep and rain, like these simple words, electricity. I love that you just were like, all right, what the fuck? Granted, back then, we couldn't search to
Yeah.
see if
True.
anybody else had that name anywhere else, right? Unless it's a wildly popular name. But that leads to the idea of the Stones calling themselves the Stones,
Yeah.
with the Rolling Stones
Yeah.
being, of
Yes.
course, huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love I don't know, Gall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
with rain, I heard that didn't Kim say that the reason that they choose the word rain is it looked good in small font? I,
Oh, probably.
I,
That was one of the
yeah.
reasons we like the word I. We like to look like
yeah,
visually.
my college band, I loved how it looked in lowercase, all lowercase, so we kept it. We went with it. It was the name of a milk company up in Canada.
Yeah.
What? How did your like? I saw Lapdog only once, but I think your playing in Lapdog when I saw you it was just so different from I. You know what I mean? Like I saw you at the Lost Angel Cafe with Pumice
Oh, yes.
and
And
Crude, and
crude.
yeah, and that was
Wow.
Crude.
That's right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think at that time, yeah, it was this friend Nick and I. It's funny, my day job, I'm an architect, my day job, and Nick in Lapdog, he's an architect as well,
Is it
funny enough.
Marcel an architect as well?
He's an engineer.
Oh, is it?
Um, yeah, but yeah, kind of same worldview.
Right.
Um, and I think had a 4-track which we would record just sound on that, and that would be part of what we did. But yeah, it was quite different. I guess kind of feeling away. And I don't think I'd used different tunings at that stage.
Oh.
I kind of just slowly moved into that over time, I think in the early stages of I would just at the start of a practice, just literally randomly up tune or down tune individual strings until something sounded okay.
Right.
So pretty random, yeah.
Did you make note of those when you were doing them?
No,
No, not to recreate it later or anything like that. Yeah,
I didn't even think about it. I just
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I used
Yeah.
to work in a record store in LA, and once I put on an Alice Galbraith record, and one of the guys I work with said, "Oh, like? Does anybody tune their guitars in New Zealand?" And I said, "No."
I've
There's
always
probably
been
somebody who does.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I play solo, I just pick up my guitar and start playing. I don't bother tuning it to itself or anything like that.
Hmm.
I
Nice.
only really do that if I'm playing with someone else and like we're trying to, with the thought of maybe recreating it. So the new band, with John and Ethan and stuff, I'm the musician in that band, which is hilarious. Like I'm the one who is like, "Hey, we should probably tune because we want to play the
Yeah.
song again." And they're like, "What?" Yeah, yeah. I feel like a square in that band. When did you, Andrew? When did you leave New Zealand? Like these shows that you're talking about seeing Peter play, were you still living there, or were those?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah, I
going
was
back?
still living there. That was
Okay.
many, 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 many years ago. God, how long ago? I don't even know how long.
That was, I'm guessing it was late 90s. I
Yeah,
remember Sonic
Oh,
Youth
okay.
played the night after, so
yeah.
I
Thurston
think
Moore
some
and
of them
Steve Shelley
came
were at your
along.
show.
Yeah.
I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember being kind of shocked to see them in
Yeah,
hanging
because there
out
was
in
only
Bay
20
Road.
people there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a tiny
That
space.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got to say that show particularly stands out as a particularly insane show in my mind. Like everything about it was really bizarre. Like I think Matt was on acid and was just like all over the place, and he had his car keys in his mouth at some point, and yeah, it was a really bizarre thing. But I do remember that Lapdog seemed very uh like you're playing an eye is like you say it's like full bore, you know what I mean? Eye is such a like a visceral there's a propulsion
Mm.
to it, not just through Peter's drumming, but like the whole thing is just like this massive energy that's which is such a contrast to the other metonymic bands, like Rain and Sleep and everything.
Yeah.
It's not that they didn't have aspects of that to them, but it seems like an unsettled, so sort of the balance between being unsettled and calm was kind of what that whole school of bands was about. And then I is just out the gate, you know going. And I think back to
Mm.
Lapdog, and Lapdog seemed very like, I remember you had your backs to the audience and the guitars facing the amps, and it was
Yeah.
two lines of sort of guitar sound. So it seemed like a like really very very different from your playing an I.
Yeah, I think we might have even had rough well, not songs, but
Oh,
we
really?
kind of like
Composition.
compositions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's so a long time ago. But
Huh.
yeah.
Which is funny, contrast that with thinking of like John's early work. When I think of Double Leopards, it's like, something that's so cool about the Double Leopards is who the hell is doing what. Like, I mean, I mean, it's
Mm.
the individual contributors are so blurred, and it's impossible really to tell who's responsible for what sound. But something that I've always thought is Double Leopards and the last um the last version of Un,
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
like those band, like the freeform version of Un, not the song version. Like
Yep.
both of those bands are like kind of the closest thing to the sort of corpus hermeticum school of what was happening in New Zealand at the time. It's like it always seemed to me like in New Zealand, I kind of always felt like that. So when Double Leopards first came out, I really gravitated towards them because it was like, oh, this feels like something that would be happening at home. Like I get this. Um, so
Yeah,
like,
we were.
yeah, was that a conscious thing? I mean, were you kind of,
Well, like I said, we wouldn't have even formed if I hadn't seen Chris wearing a Dead Sea t-shirt. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, we were listening when I first came here as a backpacker, and I was hanging out with Michael Morley. It cracked me up going through his records and CDs to see that his collection was like exactly the same as my collection. So, yeah, we were definitely aware of it. We were listening to those bands. We were trying to get as free form as possible, which in Philadelphia in 1996 was we were really out there. The
Yeah.
first gig we ever played, I think we had three people there at the Khyber Pass in Philly, if you've ever played there. And two of them were just two of my coworkers, and they clapped, and afterwards they were like, you guys sounded really good, but there was something weird going on with the sound system because there were all these really awful high-pitched sounds coming out, and I was like, yeah, that was you. That was me.
It's always bad news when your coworkers come to your gig, right? Like when people ask me, like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
so I hear you play music," I kind of sometimes am like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah."
Yeah, mid-90s Philly. I mean, what else? The Bardo guys were going at that point.
Yep,
Still song. I'm a huge Bardo Pond fan, and know
sure.
all those folks, but still song based.
Yes,
Compared to Double Leopards and anything Free Noise, they're like rock and roll.
that's
Um,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then
Mm.
what? A few years later, then you get the free folk kind of resurgence thing, and folks from
yep,
up here, Otto Hauser. I don't know if you knew Otto or not, but he's a Rochester guy who moved there, and other folks that I know like moved to Philly, and there was that free folk, horrible tag that got pinned to Aldham.
yep.
Um, but yeah, did you ever find like a place in Philly for what you guys were doing?
Yeah, for sure. There
I mean,
was
the pelt.
a
Did you play with the pelt guys at all?
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
we
perfect
knew
matchup, right? Like,
definitely.
I feel
And
like did we ever play with you guys, Pengo?
possibly.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
times they would go on the road, and I was starting to have kids, so I was at home breastfeeding, and they were on the road, uh,
Sure.
knocking
There
amps
was
over and stuff like
there
that.
was a venue called the Astrocade in Philly that was just
Oh
a
yeah.
loft space. Yeah, they would put on shows. Tom Roach from was doing a project called Roachhausen with Jason Hausen, I think his name was.
Hmm.
So they were kind of doing freeform stuff as well. So yeah, I guess the sort of yeah, was one of those nexuses for the kind of expansion of uh, free sound, free noise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
came.
bought on record. Yeah, because all the Silk Breeze, like talking about Crawl Space Records, Silk Breeze seemed to be the most exciting record label
Mm.
that we knew about with Harry Pussy and all those bands.
Mhm.
You know, I know. I remember talking to Bruce when the Dead Sea toured um, America and was it the mid '90s,
Mm.
and I think Harry Pussy toured with them. And I remember talking to him when they came back and played in Auckland at somewhere on Upper K Road. Oh no, Upper Queen Street. No, Upper Simon Street.
Kurt's Lounge.
Kurt's Lounge, yes. And I remember, yeah, having a long chat to him, being um, very jealous that he'd seen Harry Pussy so many times. He said, well, I missed him a couple of times because went out for a burger and they only played like 12, 14-minute sets. So, okay, right.
I saw them on that road trip I alluded to earlier in Houston, Texas, and I was in the back of the club, and Adrius playing drums scared the hell out of me. I didn't want to get anywhere close to the stage because she just freaked me out. I met her years ago, and she's completely normal. It was a
Yeah.
stage thing. I love that, that persona that people could take uh, on the road. But during that road trip, my buddy who was with me was trying to track down all these. He kept picking up all these like very just black and white minimal covers. He's like, if you see any of these when you're flipping through records, like hold it up. And they were all Silk Breeze recordings. They were all, Harry Pussy and the early Silk Breeze, Dead Sea and stuff like that. They were all very black and white at the time.
Mm.
And that's when I had like USA Kills, I think, right before that. But that's when I got like Operation the Sun. I started getting Gate stuff, and we'd be like driving in the middle of the night across the South listening to Do Line, which is a
Oh God, yeah.
creepy
Yeah.
record to listen to. I don't usually denote creepiness on that, but like you're in the middle of Louisiana, like, and you're over swamps on a causeway. So it's a weird feeling. But the Philly scene. So yeah, we played, or I didn't. I went down. Pelt played at the Astrocade, and a bunch of my friends were in Coffee. I don't know if you remember the Coffee band.
Yeah, I do remember coffee. Yep.
Yeah, and they were Arthur Doyle's electroacoustic ensemble. They were like the backing band for Arthur
Oh,
Doyle,
wow.
and we all went down
Wow.
there. And they played a show at Astrocade, and it was like them, Pelt, Cher Lamides maybe. I can't
Right.
remember. There was somebody else
Mm.
that played it. That venue was cool. Was that venue mostly that kind of music, or did they book like kind of anything? Like, was there rock shows there and hardcore and stuff like that? Or
I couldn't tell you. I would have only gone for the experimental stuff.
okay,
So yeah, and they got shut down after a while, of course, because it was an illegal venue. It's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
a off space. So yeah.
It's interesting, like, talking about like, trying to sort of untether yourself or like free yourself from conventional structures or whatever. And something that I've always thought about, and I don't know if this is true or not, or this is me just sticking my own shit on your band, is that it always seemed like I wasn't afraid of the rock aspect of like where
Mm.
you were coming out of. Like, it's because it seemed for like a long time, like, you know everyone in that New Zealand, whatever you want to call it, world, this, post Hermes Corp world or whatever, everyone's coming out of post-punk or rock music of some sort, but everybody's like using the tools of it to do something else. And I think like I seemed like this like some sort of a rival point where, it was like, well, okay, we don't need to obscure that anymore. If that's where it goes, that's where it goes. So sometimes I like really felt like a rock band for like
Yeah.
chunks, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
sometimes not at all. But like
Yeah.
it almost seemed like people would undercut themselves if that started to happen. It's like, oh God, we need to go somewhere else to do something else. And it seemed like I was some sort of a rival point where people were like, yeah, like why not? Is that fair, or am I just making shit up?
I think you're definitely right, but none of it was conscious.
Right.
I think, when Peter and I started playing, we had no idea what it was going to be, whether it was going to be, very quiet or very loud. I mean, Peter obviously is a, incredible drummer and comes out of the whole post-punk tradition. And maybe some of it, that early stuff was kind of a release for, I don't know, the post-relationship stuff maybe. But no, I think we're just exploring different options, and we just loved that loudness. And Nathan, I mean, he loves Boris, bands like that as well.
Yeah.
So, it was great to kind of rock out in one kind of way. But yeah, we didn't want to try and be formulaic, or I don't know what you'd call it.
Right. Like I don't want to call you a
Nathan
noise rock.
described us as, yeah, I think he said we're kind of like the idea of rock was some of it, I think. But
Oh,
without.
right.
But yeah, most of the New Zealand free noise people sort of come out of a post-punk background, I think. Whether playing it or listening to it. Everyone loves the Four.
Oh
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
It's illegal to not like the Fall. I think.
Yeah.
But if it
Yeah.
isn't, it should be.
Yeah.
I feel too, like from my time in that a perspective that I brought, that I know you and I talked about it quite a lot, is that sort of pursuit of ecstatic experience as well. And like whether we're dropping down into 7 minutes of almost silence in a performance, or whether it's a pounding 15-minute long raucous dronescape, we're chasing that ecstatic
Trance.
yeah, and the rock tropes are a really great way to kind of follow that ecstasy. So
Right.
I mean, live we were very loud.
Yeah.
And those loud bits, like deafeningly loud for long periods.
Yeah.
Our typical live set would be kind of 40, 45 minutes long. And within that time, well, Forbes, who was our kind of sound engineer for most of the time, really, he talked about the hump or the double hump. So generally we'd start off really quiet, build up to this huge thing, then drop down, then maybe build up again later on.
Right.
Occasionally we'd start loud straight out the gate, but generally not. Generally it would be.
So whether it was either the dromedary or the Bactrian camel shape.
I was just gonna say that. You got there first. There's a camel joke in there somewhere.
But people did used to say to me, even in those really loud, extended bits, sometimes they almost felt like going to sleep. Like they're just kind of, even though it was such an assault, I think within that it was almost, I guess,
trance-inducing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we, on a number of occasions, particularly at Dean's place, Jutland Street, we got people dancing.
Oh yeah, people definitely dance.
Which is, it was a surprising thing to me moving here, even in the early 2000s at ARC Cafe gigs, that the Dead Sea could be playing the most abstract music, and somebody, usually James Robinson, would be up the front dancing to it. So, it's not unusual for people in Dunedin to dance to freeform music. They may be dancing in quite a freeform manner themselves, but like during some of the Rocky stuff that we played at Jutland Street, definitely just people were fucking boogieing.
But the Rocky bits were very rhythmic.
Yeah.
You know, with Peter's drums.
Yeah.
That you can definitely dance to that.
No, that was
Peter is such a loud player. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
his playing is so loud, and then his choice of instruments, like I mean, the actual layout of his kit, I mean, just increases that also. And I feel like, there's that sense of propulsion, not just from the rhythm he's playing, but the sound he's projecting, and I felt like the Terminals had that aspect when you saw them live too, where it's just like, oh
Yeah.
man, Peter is just pushing the whole band, just like they get into this sort of manic point because they have to play over the top of what's behind them.
Yeah, they were a juggernaut live, that
Yeah,
band.
just
Mm.
incredible life. But I think that sometimes when you say propulsive with drumming, people think of the rhythmic propulsion. But I think with Peter's playing, when I say propulsive, I'm talking about like the actual sort of pressure of the sound itself. And that's
Oh
what's
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think is like a match for your guitar because guitar and synth, there's continuums. It's that like it's not start stop like rhythmic. I mean, it seems like the whole
Mm.
band is playing a continuum, even though Peter is playing rhythm sometimes.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's why
And
it
of
feels
course
like
the main feature of his drum kit was his huge marching drum, which he'd bought from a marching band and then put it on its side, so it's like the biggest, loudest floor tom in the world. I think Mo Tucker might have used a marching drum sometimes.
yeah. He definitely
Mm.
Mo Tucker was one of his um, influences as
Yeah,
well in terms
and
of
Jackie Levers, well, the can.
yeah.
I love the
Mm.
idea of so if I was gonna pick an instrument when people say, "Oh, what do you play?" I'm like drums. I use a guitar. I don't really know how to play it. But from a drumming standpoint, I love the idea of making this non-traditional setup. Um, that sort of like I like doing it to myself because it forces me not to do and not to fall into rock tropes. Playing a traditional kind of rock rhythm or anything like that. Mo Tucker, I mean, those early Velvet Underground records, it's completely obvious how she's playing. And then when there's some gigs that when she was pregnant, somebody else filled in, and he's playing on a rock kit. You could tell because it's like it totally
Mm.
sounds different.
Yeah.
Everything sounds different. The frequency of the drums are different too because you're
Mm.
playing toms and bass differently than you would normally play if you were on a normal kit, with the bass drum on your foot. And I love how Peter's playing is that I guess you would call it tribal because it is more tom heavy. Although
Yeah.
it's a gigantic bass drum, but it's like if you were just sitting playing toms, playing
Mm.
cadences on toms or rhythms on toms. But I love the idea of that,
Yeah.
like just changing things up completely. And frequency wise, I think it lends to how all of your things layer. Whereas if you're on a normal kit and playing a lot of cymbals and more snare or whatever like that, it wouldn't. I think everything wouldn't fit the same way as it does.
Yeah, he didn't play the snare so much, really. Well, I didn't. It wasn't obvious to me. Obviously, he would play it, but
Yeah,
and he'd use mallets and brushes as well.
Yeah.
So he'd switch around.